I'm back.
Illustrations by me.
So, some of you know that the channel was hacked, and I have not been able to have access to it for the last couple of weeks or few weeks or however long it's been now. And so we're going to keep going. I'm recording this video. This is either going on the regular channel once I get it back, or this may be going on a new channel. I don't know where I am when I'm showing this to you, but Lightwish sent me some things, and I'm going to show them to you. So first, let's talk about the sketchbook. It is a faux leather sketchbook. It's 100% cotton watercolor paper that's inside. It has a magnetic close. See that? That's nice. I like the magnetic close because I like when it's closed, but I like when it's not difficult to open. It's one of these with the 6 rings in it. So when you're done with this, you will have to either replace, there's actually a lot of paper in here, but you'll either have to replace it with their paper that has the holes in it that you just put the refill pack in, or you'll have to pop those holes in the exact right spot, which is actually not that very hard to do. You just take one of the old pieces and you line it up on the new piece and you put some marks on it and you pop the holes in it. It's not very difficult, but some people don't like that. Whatever you want to do. But it does open just like a regular binder, and then you keep it closed just like a regular binder. And so I do like these for travel because they're a little sturdy. This has like that faux leather. It feels velvety smooth to the touch. So it's a nice book to pick up. And I enjoy that. Some people like that they're individual sheets too, because then you can either take them out, give them away, sell them, whatever you want to do when you're done with them. You can hold them in a landscape format. We're going to go through the whole thing because we have something else to look at. They have also sent me these vampire spikes, or as some people call them, calligraphy brushes. These are a lot of sizes here. There's 8 sizes here, but these 2 small ones here do not have sizes on them that I see. So this one is less than 1, and this one is less than 1. And then the 1 is big. The 1 is pretty big. And then this is a 6. That's a 6. Do you see the size of that brush? That's a 6. I don't want to see a 12 if that's, so these are very interesting, and you know I do not do calligraphy, so I'm just going to use them the best way that I can use them. That's the way that I use things, however I can use them. But there's quite a few here. I'll pick probably mid-size, somewhere around there to use, because I like the bigger brushes, but some of these are real big. I might pick the 4. The 4 is a good brush to pick. I might pick that one and do that one, and then one of the tiny ones. I want to pick one of the small ones and just see. But we're going to test the brushes a little bit and see how much water they hold and see what kind of marks you make with them, that whole thing. And then, this is the coup de grace right here. I know that's not how you say it. Shut up. This is what they sent, this pack here. And it's a little, so this is a leather pouch. This thing, the whole thing comes open like this. Okay, so I'm going to show you from the top down, don't worry. And then you open it here as well. So there's another holder on there. You open it there as well. And it does come with cards. Let me just get them here. So it comes with the cards to swatch them out on, so you can do that. And it comes with this little kit here. This little kit is very interesting. It's very fun looking. So I had an issue when I was first talking to you. It's held with magnets, and I'm not stronger than a magnet. So that's the way that goes. So this thing opens up into a palette just like that. Very nice. And these you have mixing trays on both sides. Very nice. This has a little extra mixing tray. Some people use it for that. It's just to cover the paints. And then it has a place down here to put a brush. You can put a brush or something. Not these. These are longer handles than that. They don't fit in here. You have to put a shorter handle brush in here. And you can put some water brushes in there if you want to. Anyway, they have pans in them. Full pans. Thank you. Thank you, Lightwish, for putting in full pans in a set. That's what I like to see. I like the full pans. So thank you. There's 24 colors here. And they give you all, on here is all the pigment information. It's right on there. You don't have to guess. So I will do a, I'm going to swatch them all and then do a slight dispersion test on another sheet. I just wanted to see how it is. But this is watercolor paper, and These mostly single pigments. These are mostly single pigment paints. So let's see how vibrant they are. Let's see how bright they are. And they're paints that you recognize. They're pigments that you would use normally. That's just how they are. So, but the thing is about this, and this is what I really like about this whole thing. So when you flip this thing open, let me see if I can do it here. Okay, so this whole thing works together. It's very simple. You take this, you open it all the way. So just open it all the way. So this is the outside flap here, but you open the whole thing like this. You place the book in here like this. You put it on this side. Then you open this flap, flip this part down, and this hooks into this little hook here. So now you have an easel to hold your stuff. And then you put your paint box, I'll get it here, down on the bottom like that. You understand? That's what you do. And you have a little easel to paint on. I think that's great. This sits like this. You can just take this out and put it on your lap and it stays up like that. I'll show you how it works. I'm not going to be able to paint like that because, you know, then you'd have to be back here to get the picture of me painting this way. But I'll do it from the top down to show you, and then I'll just lay the book down and paint. But I love that idea. A portable easel for your book. Wonderful. They were thinking with this one. But if you don't have the book to go over this thing and hook into here, then it's a waste. You can't do that. Now, you can do that with a hardcover book, I'm sure, if it's sat all the way up. But spiral is the way to go for this one because you need to flip the back cover around there. Let's see if it works with other books. Why, yes, it absolutely does. This is a bigger book, you can see, because that thing doesn't go anywhere near it. But it works just fine. It works just the same with a bigger book. So it's just a great idea. But you use the spiral books with this set, and it works like this. Otherwise, it's not going to do that. Okay, so let's get into the swatch. Then I'll do the brush test, and then we're into the painting. Let's do that. Okay, so this is the Walnut box here that we're going to take a look at. Look at this thing. This is great. I love it. I think this is wonderful. Full pans. Thank you very much. So that means when I go ahead and I take this brush here and I dip it in there, look, it fits. Which size is this one? This is a 2. But look, it fits. That's nice. That's most watercolor brushes will fit in there, which is wonderful. And that's a wonderful thing. Now I know people are going to complain, oh, but look, the pan dips in because the paint has some shrunkenness to it, and that's what you will see. That this does go in a little bit, but what are you going to get? This is what you're going to get. This is a beautiful set, 24 colors with this palette box. You have the little mixing areas on each side. You have a little spot here for a brush here. It's a beautiful little set. I absolutely love it. I think it's a wonderful idea. Now, let me show you how the book works. Okay, so the set comes like this. You have to open it up here. You open this up. This is a separate flap here. You take this out. Now you're going to get your book. Okay, you're going to open up your book like this. You're going to fold the front flap down like this. You can even put the back one under there so that this doesn't stick out into your watercolor. You don't want that. Now you're going to put this on this section here. So just the first section here, you're going to fold that down like that. Put the book like this. And then tuck it behind the flap, just like that. Now you have something in front of you that you can paint on like this. You put your paint down in front like this. Let me open it up like this. And there you go. You dip here, paint here, you mix here, you paint here. Wonderful setup. I absolutely love it. Okay, I'm going to take these paints, swatch them out on this card. We're going to talk about some things. Let's get into that. Okay, number one, we're going to start with the zinc white. As usual, I'm going to use the water brush for this part, and then I will use the regular brush when I do the painting. So we have a zinc white. We have a semi-transparent here, or semi-opaque, however you want to read that. I think they consider that semi-opaque, and this is semi-transparent. Sometimes I can't see a difference. Maybe you can. That's up to you. For light fastness, that's excellent. That's the best light fastness you can get on these. That's how that is. PW4 there. So this is going to be the zinc white. Now the zinc white's a little different because a zinc white is not as, it's usually a little warmer of a white, and it's not as opaque, but it's good for tinting. If you want to tint something without making it too opaque or too pastel-like, you could use a zinc white. So let's see. Yeah, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, but I can definitely see how warm that is. That came off as a warm white. And it's somewhat opaque. It's supposed to be semi-opaque. If it was a completely like a titanium white, it would be fully opaque, but it covered that line pretty good. This is going to dry and it's going to lighten up a little bit around there, but it covered pretty well. I'm impressed with that, and it didn't smear the ink under it. I'm impressed by it. That's good for a zinc white. Next, for the Hansa Lemon, or yeah, it says Hansa Lemon. It's a Hansa Yellow 10G. That's what that is. That PY3 there, semi-transparent, and it is. It has that 4 stars as well for the light fast rating. Very bright color. Do you see that? That's extremely bright. That's not a low tinting strength color at all. Should I do a little dot of water here and see what it does? Maybe I should do that. Put a little dot there and do that so you can see it. Some people like to see the dispersion. It's not very dispersing, but it's good enough. It does something. It moves in the water a little bit. Stays put for the rest of it. That's how that works. Now they're saying a yellow medium here, semi-transparent, only 3 light fastness here, so a little bit less. And then you're going for the PY154. That's the benzimidazole yellow, so it's going to be a little bit warmer. That's just how that is. And let's see, yeah, it's a little bit warmer. More my speed of a yellow. I don't like the bright lemon yellows. It's not something that I normally use. So let's put a little bit of water here. We'll see how that works. These new brushes, let me tell you something about the new brushes. I'm using the one that's a little bit green. Yes, I am, because we got greens on this one. And it doesn't move much. A little bit. Spreads out a little bit, but not much. So the warmer yellows for me is where I usually use. This is too bright for me. I don't ever use something like that. It's just, I don't even use it for mixing. I use a warmer yellow for mixing. So the yellow deep is the PY65. That's another Hansa yellow. That's the Hansa Yellow 65. We talk about that one quite a bit. It's quite common in different palettes. We did see some of that in the Da Vinci palette as well. That's a beautiful, warm. I am a fan of the yellow deeps. That's just, I am. I like them. I think that they're, well, that's just too much water coming out of there. Okay, I'm a fan of the yellow deeps. I like the warmer yellows. It's just what I use. That one is extremely warm. That's bordering on like an orange, almost like a very light pumpkin orange almost. It's not orange. We're going to get to the oranges, but I'm just saying you can use that part in the lighter part if you're painting a pumpkin. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Okay, now we have a gold ochre. Oh my goodness. So the gold ochre is becoming a popular type of color. A lot of sets are including this gold ochre now. And this is a semi-transparent 3 light fast. It's PBR7, so you're looking at the brown iron oxide. Beautiful brown iron oxide. That is very, very yellow brown. That's a very, I can see what they're going for here, but that's more like a, that doesn't look like a PBR7 to me. It is, I'm not saying that they're wrong. It just doesn't look like that to me. It almost looks like an nickel azo yellow or something. See how if you take a little bit of this, see how bright yellow that gets? That acts exactly like a nickel azo yellow. That muddy yellow up here, that muddy color up here, and then, or I call it dirty anyway. I don't really like, I'm not a fan of that. And then this bright fluorescent color underneath, that's like a nickel azo yellow, but they're saying PBR7 for that. I've never seen one that looked like that, but we'll go with it. Okay, now I will give any company credit when they give me an orange pigment for a color orange. Thank you. That's what I want to see. An orange pigment for an orange. However, this one, Parazzolone orange is PO34. That Parazzolone orange is kind of like it's a Dariolide with other things added to it. It's not light fast. It's somewhat fugitive. So you have to be, this is sketchbook paint right here. That's what this is here. Semi-transparent. Let's see what it looks like. It looks like a very pretty color in the pan. And it is. It's a very beautiful, bright, vibrant color. It's just not something that's going to last out on the wall for very long. So I would not put this on the wall. I wouldn't use this and then sell my work. Let's put it that way. That's not what I would do here. Let's see how it looks with a little bit of water, and it didn't move a lot, but a little bit, not too much. Most of these stay put until they start to dry out a little bit. They spread a little bit. That's just what they're doing now. Now, do not be confused. This is not a light red. This is a red light. So we have here a PR112. That's a naphthol red. I like the naphthol reds. They're a little less light fast than some of their other reds, red counterparts, but I'm just a fan of them. I love naphthol red. It's a beautiful color red, and I'm sure this is going to be a beautiful color when I look at it. Let's see. Yes, absolutely beautiful. Wonderful. A little bit of a cooler red. How do you tell? Let me show you. So generally when you scoop this away a little bit, well, you get that little bit of a pink undertone. And if it looks a little pink underneath, you're going to say, oh, okay, that's going to be a cooler red. So if it was just a lighter red underneath, you would say, no, that's a true red. Although it does lean more true than it does cool. So the cool reds, you often notice, and this is strange because they didn't give me a warm red here. So usually right after that orange, you'd get a warm red. But this is a cooler red. It's a little bit of a pink hue under here. It's not 100% pink, but it is pinkish. So it's more of a cooler red. Or you can say it's more of a truer red because it's just barely on that pink side. So you could say, well, I just see a lighter red. And if that's the case, then you'd say, oh, that's a true red. But I think this has a little bit of a pinkish undertone in here. Next, we're up to the Carmine Red. I usually love the Carmine Reds. We have a PV19, that's quinacridone violet. It's semi-transparent. Most of these are semi-transparent. That's just what they all look like here. Either that or semi-opaque. There's two of them that are semi-opaque. Most of them are semi-transparent. But only a 3 light fast on this one, so a little less. And that's kind of how I'm seeing things go with this color. A lot of the companies are putting this out like that, and this is a very cool red. So some carmines are extremely pink, and you can see when you take that away a little bit, look at how pink that is compared to the other one. So how I would use this on my palette is this would be my true red, this would be my cool red, but we're going to get cooler. This Madder Lake red here, this should be very cool, and we're going to keep going. But let's see what it looks like, or it could look like more like a magenta. We'll see. But anyway, that's how I would use it. There's not really a warm red on this palette. Thank you, because I'm not a big fan of them to begin with, so it's not going to affect me at all. Some of you will miss that. Some of you will say, oh, I wish I had a warm red. Mix a little bit of that on. This is a true enough red that if you just put a little bit of either like this on here, this yellow here, or this orange here, just a touch of it in there, you'll get your warm red. It's not that difficult to get there. So this here, we have a Madder Lake red here. This is going to be your benzimidazoline carmine. So that's what that PR176 is, semi-transparent. 3 light fast, so not full light fastness, but a little bit. And it does have almost like a wine color magenta. I don't know how to explain it any other way, but this is leaning more towards a violet undertone here, but it's a very pink violet. So this, you can see, got very pink here. This is more of a deeper color here if you want something a little bit more vibrant, but still have that light, it's like a purpley violet undertone. So it acts more like a magenta in this palette. And I'm not familiar with this pigment. I have not used this pigment very much at all. Some companies use it almost for a alizarin crimson. I do not think that this looks anything like an alizarin crimson. Not to me, it doesn't. It's still a very pretty color. I love it, but it's just not what that alizarin crimson is. And I'm very happy they didn't call it that. Thank you for not doing that. Once again, this is a violet light. I am not familiar with this pigment, the PV3. That's an M-methyl violet. I'm not familiar with it. I don't know. There's a Schminke uses it for a color. Winsor Newton uses it for a color, but it's just not something I'm familiar with. Let's see what it looks like. And that's a red. That's a violet. I mean, it's a nice violet. It's actually a very pretty color, violet. But again, the light fastness on it is terrible, and that's so these are going to be sketchbook paints for the most part. There's a lot of these that are more light fast, some 4 stars. There's a lot of 4 stars in here too. But I would say for the most part, when you're looking at this, you're looking to use it as you're in your sketchbook and just have fun with it. Just play around with it and relax. Someone told me, there was a comment about some art teacher talking about playing with your paint, and it was like a curse word basically. You couldn't say that. You play with your paint. I'm telling you to do that. You go tell that teacher to just shut up. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay, that color has gotten more beautiful as it's dried. I really like that color a lot as it's shifted a little bit. And it's one of my favorites, I think, on this whole section here. That's one of my favorites. I like it. I didn't mention, this also has a PR 122 with it. That's the quinacridone magenta, which is a very common, that one's very common, but the PV3, not very common. So when you move over to here and you look at the violet deep, and it has that same PV3 on it, but then it moves to the ultramarine blue with it, the PB29. That's going to be interesting. Again, not very good light fastness because that PV3 does not have good light fastness. So let's see what that looks like here. And these are very easy to re-wet, by the way. Very easy. So that's almost like it's trying to be a dioxazine violet is what it's trying to do. It's not succeeding 100%, but it's getting close. So the added ultramarine, which is a blue that leans red, and then you have a violet already. So it's going to make a nice color. And that is a pretty color. And it does get very dark, almost black up here. So it's trying to do the dioxazine violet thing without actually using the dioxazine violet pigment here. But it's getting the job done for your sketchbook. It sure is. It moved a little bit in the water, not much. Okay, we have a blue. It's just called blue. That's your phthalo blue-green shade, PB15:3. And then it's semi-transparent. And it's much more light fast than the previous ones because it is the phthalo blue. And it's a beautiful shade as always. I'm a big fan of phthalo. Oh, look at that. I put a lot of water into that. I'm a huge fan of phthalo blues. I love I know it goes against everything you know about me as far as the phthalos, but I love phthalo blues. Always have, always will. I love all the phthalos except for one. Don't worry, it's coming up. It's right below it. Just, we'll get there. Hold on. All right, let's get a little water down here, see if it moves in the water. And a little bit, but pretty much stays put. And yes, blue does stain the brush a little bit. It really does. It just doesn't bother me because it's easy to get off the palette. Not like the other trader over here. All right, halfway done here, so we're moving right along. Ultramarine light, that is the ultramarine pigment, semi-transparent, very light fast. Everybody loves this color except for me. And that doesn't mean that I hate the color. It's not a color that I like. It's a red leaning blue. It's just not my thing. I don't like the red leaning blues. It's a very, I understand. It's a great pigment. It's a great mixing color. The granulation in it, you can immediately see. It's a wonderfully granulating pigment. I love that. But I'm just not a fan of the color. I just don't like the red leaning blues. If you've watched the channel for any length of time, you know that. You're aware of that. Now here's something very interesting. So, of course it's not very light fast, and I get it. But they're going for an indigo, and they're using the indigo pigment. That's not very common because of the light fast issue. But it's what it is. It is actually the indigo pigment. You're going to see a real indigo pigment here. You might not have ever seen one before in your life, but it is a beautiful color. Absolutely wonderful. It's much cooler than some of the other indigos that I've seen. Like the Daniel Smith indigo, I can't stand that color. I do not like that color at all. This is a dark, deep, stormy blue. And you can see it right away in here how it's also like a cool blue. So absolutely beautiful color. It's just not very light fast. But if I was just going for color, if I was an artist who just scanned their work, that's all I ever did, I would use this color all the time. I love it. It's a beautiful pigment by itself. Let's see if it moves in the water, and not as much. Now we have a bluish green. They're already starting with me. Here it is. We have the PG7, that is the phthalo green blue shade, and we have the PB15, but they're not telling me which one. I have a hunch that it could be the green shade as well, because that's usually the most common one that they mix here. But they didn't say, so I'm not going to say. Very pretty color, just like a turquoise color. Very nice, very pretty. It's a blend, it's a mix. Doesn't move in the water much. That's okay too. But it's just a very pretty color. I just don't like the green because it's already getting into there. You can see it at the tip of the brush. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but you can definitely see the tip of the brush green just from the one time. I know I'm a hypocrite. I didn't say that with the blue, but it's something about the green that bugs me. Same mix here, but less light fastness. So one of these, I don't know what that is. These have that same combination at a 4 light fast. This has the same combination at a 3 light fast. I don't semi-transparent, but I don't know what the difference there is. And yes, I do know what the difference there. The phthalo green is definitely taken over that one. That emerald there. They could have probably just used the straight PG7 and it would have been just as well of an emerald. You don't need to add the PB15 to it. You don't have to do that. That is a phthalo green if I've ever seen it. Maybe a touch darker because the blue's in it, but really that's a phthalo green. That's just what it is. You can see it a lot in here. Okay, and here we are with the sap green. So this is going to be a phthalo green. And then you're going to take the Hansa Yellow 10G and add it to it for a sap green, but I don't think this is sap green. Let's take a look here. Yeah, that's more of a spring green. I would not call that a sap green at all. This is a very yellow green. This is definitely, I would not call this sap green. I would call this like a leaf green or a grass green or something like that, but definitely not a sap green. That's a very different color. Just normally, that's a very different color. Okay, and now we're going to have a green deep, which is going to be a phthalo green. When you have so many colors that use the same pigment, you're buying that in bulk. You're getting it a little less expensive, and it's a less expensive pigment. You get that phthalo green in there, and then you add the lamp black to it, and this is what this color is going to be. So let's say the less light fast here, real low light fastness here, semi-transparent, let's see. So it's kind of, it's a green that I would use more, I'll tell you that. It's almost like a deep forest green, like a really deep forest green color. That's what I would say there. It's not really, I think it's trying to be a perylene, but it's not really a perylene kind of color. It's more like a deep forest green. You can see that up in here. It's a pretty color. I probably like this the most out of these three greens. I would go with this one for me, and this color is absolutely beautiful. This turned into a beautiful color. It dried. Everything looks wonderful. I do like it. Now we're getting to the earth tones. Everybody knows I like the earth tones. Raw sienna, we have that brown iron oxide, semi-transparent, and you have a full or a 4 light fastness. So let's see what that looks like, and that's a lighter color. It's close. It's in the neighborhood of a raw sienna, I could say. I can see that. I want to see how it dries compared to the gold ochre, because the gold ochre dried actually into a nicer color than when I put it down. But this already looks like a nice color. So let's see if this dries even nicer, like a yellow ochre almost kind of color. And doesn't move much in the water. Although some of these ended up spreading out a lot in the water as they're drying. So that's just what happens. It's watercolor. It's going to do that. But when you first put it down in the water, does it shoot and spread or stay put? That's what we're looking for, is the initial application of it into the water. What does it do? Okay, burnt sienna, same pigment, little less light fastness, and it's a semi-transparent color. And yeah, burnt sienna. So burnt sienna varies greatly. Sometimes it looks more orange, sometimes it looks more red, sometimes it looks darker, sometimes it looks lighter. This would be what I would consider, some people would, or some companies call this like a burnt sienna light color because it's a little bit more orange. But it's a pretty color. It's a nice color. I like it. And there it is in the water, and it spreads a little bit. Let's go to the English red. So English red is usually a PR 101, but they're using a PBR 7. They're using a brown iron oxide instead of the red iron oxide. I don't know how that's going to work. We're going to see. We'll see how it works, but it's semi-transparent. It has excellent light fastness here, of course. Let's see. And that's a very opaque English red. In the realm, it's in the realm of something like that, but English red usually has a little bit more, and there it is. In the undertone, it looks a little bit more red here. But I would not say this is semi-transparent. That's fully opaque. That is a fully opaque color when you put it down just the way that I first put it down. Fully opaque, that is. The undertone. It's a pretty color, but I like my English reds a little bit more red than this. But still, like I said, decent color. It's a good color for the set. Moves a little bit in the water. Now we're going for our burnt umber, which is usually a beautiful color. I love burnt umbers. A little bit more of a true brown. The PBR 7, which is the brown iron oxide. Semi-transparent, and you have your full light fastness there. Let's see this one compared to that one when it says semi-transparent. Now see this one here, you can see it's semi-transparent. This one was solid. That's solid as a rock right there. And this is a beautiful color, by the way. I like when the burnt umbers don't have much yellow undertone, whereas a raw umber sometimes does. Very nice. There's some granulation in it. Very pretty. And I enjoy it, and it moves a little bit in the water there. Now let's go to the sepia. So you have, the sepia has your lamp black, the PBK 7, and then the brown iron oxide, full light fastness, semi-transparent. It should be dark. It should be dark. So let's see. And it is dark. Very good. There you go. It's a very dark, kind of warm brown. And I know browns are warm anyway, but I mean, it's a little bit warmer. It's not as green as some other ones are, which is nice. I don't like the green in my brown. I don't like that. And that pretty much stayed put. But nice color. Now we have the lamp black. They've been using the lamp black and other things to make other colors. This, by the way, came out great. Very opaque up here. Not semi-transparent. Very opaque. In the watered out part, maybe semi-transparent. Well, I'd say semi-opaque. That's pretty deep. Anyway, let's get into this lamp black here. And that is the pigment of lamp black. And it is a black color. Now, usually, let's see what it looks like here. The lamp black, by the way, we're talking about carbon from soot. There's nothing, no animal products in here. It's just a soot product. And there you go. So very, very nice neutral black, which is what I want. When I want a black, I want a neutral black. I don't like or cooler black. But even the cooler blacks are more neutral. They're just more deep and kind of piercing black. It's just a beautiful color. But the warm blacks with the brown undertones, I am not very much a fan of. Let's see what that looks like when it dries. So there you have it, a wonderful set of colors. And you can see when this dried that top line came out a little bit more. And that's what I'd expect. And it looks a little bit beige. It almost looks like, it's not quite, I'm not saying it is, but it's in the vein of like a buff titanium. That's how the zinc is. It's a warmer white. But that's okay. This is great. It's wonderful. The colors here, you can create a well-balanced painting with these colors. You can do all your color mixing. Everything will turn out wonderful. You have some beautiful colors to work with here. The earth tones here, all beautiful colors, all of them. I like all of them. That's wonderful. The yellows up top, I like the warm ones. I like this yellow medium, and I like this yellow deep. The gold ochre has grown on me. It doesn't look as dirty as when I first put it down. So that's a nice color. They give you an orange. I'm appreciative of that. You have a true, I'm going to call this a true red, even though it's a cooler red. But we're going to use it as a true red on the palette. And then you have the cool red here, which is a beautiful color. That mass tone there is beautiful. And then this is my favorite red color here. This Madder Lake red here, it's absolutely wonderful. I love it. You have a couple different violets that they gave you. The blues, great. They gave you a cool, a warm, a dark, and a slightly green blue. All very beautiful colors, and a lot of people use them. I'm not a fan of the ultramarine, but it doesn't mean that I don't think that it's a pretty color. It is a pretty color. It's just not usually on my palette, that's all. The rest of the greens, if you count the blue-green, that's a beautiful blue-green is what it is. But if you just count these three greens here, the only one I'm looking at is this green deep here. Not a fan of a phthalo and don't like that leaf or grass green. I don't like that color, but I love this color. This is a beautiful color. I would use that all the time. So all in all, great palette for the cost, and you're getting this beautiful, let me bring it back on the screen here. So you're getting a beautiful palette, and if you want to swap these out, you swap them out. I think they're fairly easy to, yeah, they're not locked in or anything, so they lift right up. And then you just take it out, put in whatever color you want. If you don't like these colors, swap out different ones that you want to fill out your set the way that you want it. And this is a great case. And it doesn't flex too far down, so there's a slight angle. You can see a slight angle here. But really, it's not too far flexed down, so it holds up just fine. You're putting a wash in here. You're mixing some things here. It's wonderful. It feels like, it's like an acrylic or something, like an acrylic plastic. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the actual plastic is here. But it's like an acrylic plastic, and it looks like it is glued down, so I can't just lift that out. So it's glued down, and it doesn't fall out, of course, like that. So, and then it's held in with those little magnets that are there. Wonderful. It's a great idea. I'm a fan of this palette. I think it's a beautiful palette. Even if the reason you get it is to put your own paints in it, it's still a beautiful palette. Let me see something here. Yeah, so if you wanted to add a bunch of extra pans, just put them in this way, and you can put them all the way across here and put as many pans as you want in there, and that would be a great set. Maybe I might do something like that, but for now I'm just going to use this as a sketching set. It's from my sketchbook. Beautiful, bright colors, wonderful, and there's a great selection on there that can satisfy just about anybody. All right, let's check out the brushes. Okay, so I do have a quick question for you. With these brushes, I'm not sure. I know, you know, the standard brush where you put it on and then there's a ferrule that crimps around the brush and then the handle to hold it together. I know that the quill brushes use a plastic piece that goes around there. The brushes actually, the bristles go on the outside and then they put that plastic piece on, they put the wire around it. But how does this work? Do they just hollow out the inside of the brush and then cram a bunch of stuff in there with some glue on the inside? And that's how this brush stays in there? Because I have no idea. But I'm going to take the smallest brush. That's the one I'm going to use first. So I get a color that you can see well. Let's just see what it can do. I don't really know. I'm not very familiar with these. Look at how thin that is. That's beautiful. So that's a wonderful thin line. And it looks like I pushed a little bit hard there. But it looks like it is going quite easy on the page. And I don't see any water dumping or paint dumping anywhere in the line. So that's a wonderful thing. That's what you want. I went a little bit thicker there, pushed a little bit harder, and you could still lighten up and get that the very thin line. So it's going to hold a lot of paint, which is great. I didn't think this thing would hold much paint at all. I know it's a long tip here, but for this to hold that kind of paint, I'm impressed. That's a lot of. I'm still going. I can still go, and I can still go, and I can still. It's starting to break up now a little bit. But there's just so much paint inside this little tiny thing that's so thin that doesn't even have a real belly on it. So I'm impressed with that. I think that's very impressive. So I don't even need to figure out really anything else other than these are going to hold a lot of paint and a lot of water. which for this price range, real sable hair, I don't know. That's really something that's interesting. But let's see. So it doesn't bounce as much, but it's so long. They're so long. I don't expect them to have the right, like the regular bounce maybe that a sable would have. I don't know. I've never used a sable brush that's this big. I know after you dip it in the water and you flick it out, which is what you're supposed to do, it comes back to a point. And that's what it's supposed to do. After you dip it in the water and you flick it, it gets the point comes back. And that's what it does. So it works very well for that. Let's see here. Okay, so I couldn't dip the whole thing in the pan. It's not all the way, because I grabbed the one that I wanted to use, which is the 4. So it doesn't fit all the way in the pan. So it only fits like up to here in the pan. But I'm almost guaranteeing that this thing is going to have, and I can't control my pressure on my brush for anything, so just bear with me here. But this thing is going to just go, and then I want to see as it lightens up, is there any color dumping? And I'm pushing a little bit harder to get more of the paint down there. You can get a much finer line here. You can see you can get a much finer line than what I'm doing here. But I just wanted to get some paint out there to see about the color dumping, and I'm not seeing color dump. I'm not seeing any of the color dump. When you push it down to the page, it doesn't dump, and you go away and then you pick it up, there's no dump over here. So it's spreading the paint very evenly, which is what you want. Now if I put that belly down on there, you should see there's a little bit of a dump here. You can see that, but that's because I pushed the belly down. That's normal. But if you're not doing that and you're just painting with the bristles, there should be no color dump, and there's not. That's an even stroke. That's what you want in your watercolor brushes. So I would say these work wonderfully, however you want it. And they are fun because you can do things with them that you can't do with maybe a regular brush. You can get your dry brush, of course, with anything, but it's just the bristles kind of fan out and spread a little weird, and you get this weird uneven edge to it. So I like that about these brushes, and that's something that I think is very interesting. I'm going to use this brush to do this painting. I think I'm going to use the number 4 the whole way. So let me see if I can do something that I'm not good at before we do that. Before we get into the actual painting, let's see if I can do something here. I'm not good at this, so please don't judge me for this, but I'm going to try and do this the way I think that it's supposed to be done. I don't know, but I know these brushes are normally you hold them straight up and down, and you do the little, the kind of the, the bigger strokes with them like this, and then you come down like this, and then you something, I don't know, I'm not good at anything that's even remotely like this, but something like this, and then little thing here, and then you put in another one. Let me see here. You put little bit extra here, and then here, and then you kind of bring this out like this. Something like that. I don't know. I can't do the calligraphy painting that they do. I can't do it, but I like looking at it. I love watching people do it. I'm just not very good at it, but these brushes do it. You push down kind of there, and then you just make that stroke. And anyway, I will leave that to the professionals. I'm going to go do a regular painting like I always do. Okay, so overall, the palette is great. I'm not really thrilled with the piece. I guess the longer I look at it, the more I like it, but I wasn't really thrilled with it. I did another piece before I hit record because I forgot to hit record. That piece was a little bit nicer, or started to be a little bit nicer, but I didn't finish it because I wasn't recording. I wanted to finish the recording. Anyway, the little fish thing, that thing, I think that was my favorite of everything I did today. But this wasn't terrible. The eyes in it were not purposeful at all. I did that. That was just where the paint bled is where kind of little eyes formed and things. But I put a little bit of extra texture into it just to take a look at how this reacted. Let's talk about the paper. Worked great. The paper I soaked. There's a lot of paint and water put on that paper, and it worked fine. Everything was absolutely fine. The palette itself, wonderful. Like the colors, I think are great. I think you can get away with just about, if you take a look at these colors here, you can find your colors on this palette. You're gonna find at least a handful of colors that you like, that you're gonna be able to use without any problem. And I'm picky, you know that. The wood palette itself, great. I think I really like this concept of this wood palette. That I don't like wood palettes normally, because I don't like when you, you know, you have the paint put directly into the wood and then you keep soaking it with water. In my opinion, that's gonna shut down. That's gonna start to break apart and fray apart on the inside. You're gonna get little bits of like wood inside your paint. Like, I don't like that idea. But having the wood palette with the pans in it, that's a great idea. So thank you, Lightwish, for that. I think that's a wonderful idea. Even if when these pans are run out and I don't have them anymore, I'm going to use that palette. I really like it. The way that that outside folds so that you can hang it up and kind of have the paper up that you're looking at, that you're painting on, great. I think that's wonderful. Usually, that's not something I go for if I go like plein air painting, if I have something set up, because I don't like to have the paints down and then the thing up. I understand it's so that you're looking at the thing you're looking at, and then you have the paper that you're painting on right in front of you, so you don't have to, it's just like a little eye movement to get your reference. But for whatever reason, I like the paper down here. I like to get on top of it and then so I may put the palette up and have the paper down. But if I was out plein air painting, but on a desktop, that doesn't bother me at all, because I usually put the paint to the side on the desk and then I paint. So that works fine. I think I can really use that. I know some people don't like ring bound. Some people don't like spiral bound. Some people prefer like a bound sketchbook, but I like all sketchbooks. Because there's so many different situations you can use each one in, to have a sketchbook that can fit any bill. Now, a lot of people don't like the ring binder or the spiral bound. They like the bound sketchbook. I like all sketchbooks. So I don't, if it's, there's a use for every different kind. And for this one, it's to put on that palette that kind of folds up. You need that cover to wrap around the back to hold itself up, then get wedged in that spot so it can hold up. So there you go. For ring bound or spiral, that's what that's for, and I enjoy it. I will use it for that. But I always like using different sketchbooks. Let me know what kind you like. Let me know down below, what do you like? Because a lot of people like the bound sketchbooks. A lot of people just like the spirals because they don't like the... I like everything. There's every single one of them I find a use for. Now, some people who are left-handed don't like the spiral bound. But if you put the spiral on the top, I don't think you have a problem. Or just put the book upside down and just paint on that way. Now, some people would say, no, just start from the back and work your way forward. But sometimes the back of the paper is not the same as the front of the paper. So if you want to use the front of the paper, just take the book, flip it upside down. Now the spiral is on the right side, or the ring bound is on the right side. You're this side. And then you can draw with your left hand or paint with your left hand, and it doesn't get in your way. If you're right-handed, leave it the way it is, and that binding doesn't get in the way. Only go on one side of the paper if that's what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you spin it a little bit, you can put the binding on top, and now you don't have to worry about which side the binding's on. You just do the top, and that's it. All in all, it was a fun piece. I enjoyed all the products. Those brushes are different. They work wonderfully well. They hold a lot of water. They hold a lot of paint. And you see me, as I'm painting, I keep dabbing into the paint and just releasing the extra paint into it. And you can just do that forever with those. They hold so much water. And then that really thin, that was the less than zero brush, the 2 less than zero brushes. And it doesn't have a size on it, and it worked great. I wanted to use it, and I used it to put in some little lines and some detail. think that made the piece at all, but I did enjoy using the brush. So if you have a use for a fine line or something like that, like a rigger or a script brush or something very, very fine like that, this has worked wonderfully. All in all, Lightwish products are always good quality. I've never used one of their products and said, oh, this isn't very good quality. I've never said that about any of the things that they've sent me. I've enjoyed all of it. So good job, Lightwish. I think that there are so many different things that you could do with this set in particular and just have fun with it. I think it's a home run. Just keep in mind, you're using this stuff for your sketchbook. The paints are not all light fast. Some of them are, I think, are opaque, that they say are semi-transparent or something like that. I think they're fully, like that English red. There's no way it's semi-transparent. That thing, I mean, unless you get a light wash down to a light wash, then maybe. But when you paint with that, if you dip it straight into the pan, go on the page, it's very, very opaque. It's more opaque than the white, that's for sure. But I think that was the most opaque one on the entire page, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I still think that they're great paints. I found the ones that I like to use. I put them in the painting, and that's what I did. Now keep in mind, what you saw me do with these brushes, that's not what most people do with these brushes. They use them a very specific way. Like when I did the demonstration in the beginning, that fish, that's how they use the brush, like that. That's not how I use the brush, but I don't ever use things the way that other people use them. I just use them the way that I find I can create with them. So that's the most important thing. So for me, going back and forth and making sure that the areas were completely saturated and dumping extra color into a spot, that's how I like to use the brush. So hopefully everyone will forgive me for how I like to use the brush, and they'll just let me use it the way I want to use it and not yell at me for how I use it, because, you know, life's too short. And you just ask these people popping up on the screen here, they'll let you know you got to use things the way that you enjoy using them and just have a good time with it. They always like to have a good time, and so do you. So thumb up the video if you're going to take a look at Lightwish. Take a look at some of these things and see if they fit into your budget first, and then say, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to get them because they're a good deal. And I really think they are. Those brushes are an amazing deal. Check out those brushes. Absolutely wonderful. All right. I'm sure I was bouncing all over. I am exhausted right now. I'm sure I said a lot of things that I probably shouldn't, or at least messed some things up. Matter of fact, I remember, well, you'll see, I think is important. And this is a great one if you like the spiral or the ring binder kind of figure thing. I think that looks wonderful. Is it a figure? It's not a figure. Well, I did it when I tested it last time. How do you do it? How do you do it? I know I did it. I did it with the thing last time. You open this up. So I think you gotta like put the, oh crap. There's no instructions at all. I remember doing it. I did it when I got it. How'd I do this? I just did it. What'd I do? Oh, I see. You gotta flip it back and open this. Okay. Okay, so this whole thing works together. It's very simple. If you'd like to join our community, head over to illustrationsbypete.com. You can just check some things out. You go through the site however you want and sign up for the newsletter that I almost never send out because I don't want to annoy the crap out of you more than I already do with my nonsense in these videos. But I'd love to hear from you, so come on over. All right.